And welcome everybody. How you doing? Another version of the fastest hour of football talk on the planet, the Football 360 show. A brutally cold winter's day. I guess it's what it's supposed to be, huh? Although I don't know.
It's snowing.
Negative
It's
numbers.
snowing on the Gulf Coast right now. So that
Is it?
yeah, down from Louisiana through Florida.
Oh man, that'd be fun to be down there at though.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. One of my friends is down in Florida, and I hit him up and said, "Thought you left. Wanted to get away from this weather." And he's like, "Oh, it's not going to stick." But there's,
Really?
I think there's some
Is it-
areas are
so it's snowing like
8
on the
inches
actual
up to like
on the
yeah, like right
Gulf
at the
of
beach.
America. Is
Yeah,
it
Gulf of America.
Gulf of America?
Yeah, so right there, they're
It's-
gonna like some areas from like where we go down for the Manning camp at Thibodaux,
Yeah.
Louisiana, which is extreme southern Louisiana. I think they were. I looked last time, it was like 8 inches they were expecting.
Really? That's crazy. You know how cool that would be though, snow on the beach?
Yes,
That
and
would be fun.
those poor people though.
They
I'm
don't
sure
know how to
there's
handle it.
there's gonna be no. But I looked at like Gulf Shores. They're gonna be like it's gonna snow today, and then by Wednesday or Thursday it's gonna be back in the 50s. So
It's just gone. So it's
yeah.
just it's
So
just a
just
fun
melt.
little
Be
thing.
fun.
It would be fun, but the lifers down there won't know how to drive or what's going on. All the transplants down there are gonna know what's happening.
Yep.
You know, they're gonna know how to deal with things. Yeah, if I could get a little more juice in my cans here, I'd appreciate it. But yeah, man. So football is back. Did you get to see the big game last night?
I did. I worked, missed part of it. It's on. We have a TV that's in our weight room, so you can always see part of it. And one of those games. I'm glad it didn't get out of hand.
Yeah.
Um,
It was
but-
a little more of a blowout than I thought it would be.
yeah. But it got. I mean, kicker missing.
Yeah.
Going in and off the post. I mean, you're talking now. They were down 13. They would have been down at 13 at that point. They come back and score. Then they're down.
So do you? But do
6
you,
or 7.
do you think Ohio State is that much better than Notre Dame? That it would be that
I think Notre Dame definitely not having Jeremiah Love full speed definitely hindered them.
Correct.
A glaring obvious issue with them is their passing attack. Riley Leonard's a heck of a competitor and a quarterback, but he from a let's just call it the way it is. Like he struggled to pass the ball vertically for much of the playoffs.
Right.
I mean, he struggled mightily. So, but man, he can run. Which is interesting about him. I saw him at the Manning camp this summer.
You mentioned that.
Big,
yeah.
strong kid, threw the ball well. If I'm not mistaken, he won the quarterback competition,
Really.
like an accuracy challenge. Which, at the end of the day, the way that works is it's kind of luck of the draw with who's driving the carts and what their angle is when you throw. Because some guys really had a little bit. Sometimes the cart takes off a little early on the deep ball, and there's no way in heck you're hitting it if that occurs when it's your rep. So. Which it occurred numerous times. And, these poor people are driving around in these golf carts. They got helmets on because sometimes the ball comes flying through. And
right. So kind of like being at elite.
yeah, you got to have your head on a swivel, man.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Every time I'm there, I'm like, I hear the whiz.
There's balls flying all over. Yeah. Especially this past weekend. I mean, we had
really good,
probably our largest high school group we've had in many years, if ever. At the 12:30 group. So
and
kids
a lot
from
of
around
good,
the region.
really good quarterbacks. And I think it's cool if we mention a few of them. Start with Brett Ottensmeyer.
Yeah.
Who just,
he can sling it, man.
He can really sling it, and he slings it effortlessly.
He's a kid that I think is really intriguing. You have him and Brennan Shasheen are two guys that are like rising seniors that have offers that, talking to them, like the recruiting right now is not, they're both in schools that are not historically highly recruited. Now,
Right.
Parkway West has had its fair share of guys come out of there.
Correct.
I mean, they had the top quarterback in the country, a number of years ago. And then his little brother 2 years later.
Right.
So you have not a ton going on with those guys. And quarterbacks are really weird because, from a recruiting perspective, you see all these kids getting offered around town right now. You don't see a lot of quarterbacks getting offered. And part of that is somebody has to come watch them throw.
Somebody has to come watch them throw. But the biggest part of that is the transfer
portal. Oh, yeah. Transfer portal is a 100%.
Problem. And like we were talking on Sunday, and I'm telling everybody who keeps asking me, because I'm telling you what, just hang in there, guys. High school recruits, hang in there because your time is coming. But it is the transfer portal. And they're going to go into the portal. They're going to pay these guys big money to be like quarterback, even if they're a backup. They like the fact that they have that college experience over high school. High school football players are supplemental
Yeah.
to the transfer portal. I mean, that's just the fact of it. Because we were just talking about players, and we're like, well, you know, their offers are kind of this, and this, and some guys are even lower. You know, a lot of D2 offers out there, which is great because those schools are going to be really good.
Yeah,
But
level, and you know, the tough thing about like the going down effect is, you and I know a lot of guys are going to get lost, and the unfortunate truth is like, you know, say you go to a D2 when you were like really a FCS level guy, or you're an FCS and you're really a Power 4 guy, in years past, and you go down and things don't go your way. There's a coaching change. There's a fifth-year senior ahead of you. You know, now you're waiting. Your timeline gets smushed or extended.
right.
It becomes kind of a tough road to hoe, because, you know, you got to get through there injury-wise. You don't want to get hurt. A lot of things have to go your way. So there's going to be, unfortunately, a lot of guys that go down that come up that works great. But on the flip side, there's going to be a ton of guys that go down that just never come out of there, right? And it's tough, because you're going to see there's going to be tons of opportunity for transfers. You also have to have a bit of luck on your side as well when you go that route. But on the flip side, if you're a kid that goes out of high school into the college, I mean, I know a couple kids on Mizzou's roster this past year that were high-level recruits that were asked not to come back to the team next year.
Yep. Absolutely. And that happens. I look at it as a more positive way. I look at it as you have more opportunity now to follow your dream, right? Look at the ball as being in your court. It's really up to you. How hard are you going to work? How are you going to build yourself? What are you going to build yourself into? What's your vision? What's your mindset? Look at, if you go to a lower school, if you go to a Truman, or you go to whatever school you go to, right? Look at it as an entry-level position at a job, right?
Yep.
And you want to be the CEO of some company. You take that entry-level position, you keep grinding, you keep building yourself, you take that next step. I mean, as we've seen, you know, there are guys who've been at 5 schools in 5 years.
Yeah.
You know, so you can hop, and don't feel bad about it. It's business, because I'll tell you what, you don't know what your team's going to look like next year. If you're a fan, I mean, you don't really know what certain teams are going to look at. Mizzou, look at the wholesale changes that they're doing.
Completely different team.
You know, completely different team.
So I think the differentiator in that is going to be, with teams like that, is who's the best coaching staffs to get those teams to meld together, right?
Yes.
Because
that's going to be
the
tough.
Personalities and people you're bringing in, no matter what, football's a team game. You have to meld together. And so, you know, Indiana's a great example. They brought in a bunch of his guys from James Madison.
Yep.
So, yeah, those transfers melded together because they've all played together.
Yeah.
Now you're bringing in 30, 40 transfers from schools, or 20 transfers from schools that don't meld together, that have different ideas of what team is and different cultures that they've played in. And you got to be a hell of a head coach to get that team to come together.
Like a Belichick.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, he's getting guys from all over.
It's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. And so, but yeah, you're right. There is more opportunity. There's so many things you can control that are within your.
That you couldn't back in the day.
Yeah, right. Right. And now the crazy thing is, I think it will be a wild shakeout, because you and I know for years, as long as we've done this, there are so many kids that made it to college level, let's say FCS or Division I, that had no business being there.
Correct.
I mean,
do we want to say why that is?
It's so obvious. Well, there's guys that recruit because they're following what the stars say. They're following what other people recruited and offered. Yeah. They're following bad recommendation from some coaches that they trusted.
It really boils down to the evaluation process of and program of the individual teams, right? I mean, and you see the ones that are successful, they usually have great evaluation or systems that they follow. The rise of Mizzou under Gary Pinkel was 100% due to their evaluation process of play. Yes. And getting guys who were going to fit their system. You know, look at Chase Daniel. Chase Daniel was not heavily recruited, believe it or not.
Coming out of a great high school.
Absolutely. But they knew that he was the guy who was going to fit that. which is really interesting because Blaine Gabbert wasn't Chase Daniel. Chase Daniel wasn't Brad Smith. They had an evaluation process. They made their offense fit those guys, right? So, I mean, that whole thing, and I don't think they get enough credit. I don't think
agree.
Coach Pinkel gets enough credit
well,
for what
he,
was done.
he
Him and
laid
Dave
he
Yost.
laid the groundwork for what's going on there today.
Absolutely. And so, there's a lot that goes into the whole recruiting process, but that is really something I think parents and players need to pay attention to. How do they evaluate? What's their track record of evaluating players? You were talking to a tight end at Elite on Sunday, and you said to him, "You want to say what you told him?"
Yeah. So the young man has gotten, you would know better than me, but how many offers in the last month?
Oh, yeah. In the past week, he got 6.
Power 4.
Power 4 offers.
Like
oh yeah.
top level Power 4.
SEC. Yes. SEC.
So I gave him some advice and I said, hey, you're going to be a little bit more in control of your recruiting process than the average kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's only going to be a junior next year.
Right.
And I said, one of the things that you need to be putting back on them is asking questions of, hey, yeah, who do I remind you of that you've coached in the past, right? Like who am I to you? Who have you coached that's like me? And then what's their production been? Right.
Correct. Yeah.
Because that's a really good indicator as to what they think they're going to do with you. And if the guy says, yeah, I had Sam Laporta. He reminded me of Sam Laporta. I had him, I took him from this to this. Yeah, now he's an all-pro in the NFL. Oh, okay. Right. That's a pretty good odds, right?
And do you plan on utilizing me the way you did
Correct.
Sam Laporta? Or how do you plan on utilizing me? Which is always huge.
And I think, guys like him, he's going to be in a unique position through the recruiting process where other kids in his grade, when they're seniors, and I think we're seeing this, and it's always been true to a certain degree. If you're getting offers as a freshman and sophomore and they keep kind of coming in, then it's safe to say you've kind of arrived, you're going to make it. Does not mean you're going to be an all-star when you get to college.
Right.
But it does mean that there's from this, pioneering aspect of going from middle school to high school to not going to a D2 or JUCO or NAIA, you're going to jump straight to the big leagues, right? You've kind of gone, working from the mom and pop shop, right? You have there's like the lower levels,
right?
You have like a mid-tier business and, a nice business. And then like a Fortune 10, Fortune 20 company.
Yeah.
You're right. So, you're trying to make those moves and up the chain, but some of those guys are going to get to do that out of high school. But what you and I have seen, and back to our early point, back in the day, so many guys they would miss on, and there's reasons why, right? Because if you go after someone that fits a profile of a guy that says, okay, yeah, this is what I used to like about this guy. He looked like this. He did this. He did this. He ran this. He jumped this. But if that guy is just strictly on paper and it's all on potential and not production, if you don't see him on field producing and you make excuses for, well, he didn't do this or he wasn't on this, like, yes, but to some degree, production matters, right? And
100%.
And if you don't have those stats, now if a guy's dinged up, he's hurt, whatever, misses a significant part of the season, you can extrapolate. A guy throws for 1,400 yards in 8 games. You could easily say, well, he probably would have been a 2,000-yard passer if he played 10 to 12 games. Okay, fine. But there's a lot of guys that get anointed early that just quite honestly don't have the skill sets that are required. And so, those young guys.
I was just talking with somebody about that on the way in, about a freshman in the state who's picked up a bunch of offers, and they're like, "Oh man, he must really be something." And I'm like, wait and see. Offers does not translate into future star
that produces that.
That's everybody putting their marker down. We've heard things about him. I mean, you look last year, or I guess 2023 season, I guess it would be. Look at, let's take Williams Nwaneri, for example, right? He really got the hype, man. He really got huge hype. And everybody's like, oh, Williams, he's a monster. And he is, and he could be. But with what I do, I look at what the production level is, right? Because if you're this, athletically, and with this potential, you should at least be doing A, right?
Against high school kids.
Correct. There was somebody else in that whole area who was really outplaying them, right? Who a lot of people didn't really pay attention to. They wound up going to Alabama eventually because last minute, this is the whole recruiting is a marathon, not a sprint thing.
Mhm.
Last minute, here comes Alabama. Oh, this kid looks like he's fired out of a cannon. Went down to Alabama. Now he's since transferred to K-State already, closer to home. That's great.
Nice payday, I'm sure.
Nice payday, right? But that's why you do. And I had him ranked ahead of Williams. Okay.
Yeah, because sometimes you just got to believe what you see.
You
right?
got to believe what you see. You know, you're
Not believe the hype, believe what you actually see.
exactly. You're similar position, playing a similar position. The one kid is demonstrably more athletic, great, better get off, first step, speed, the whole 9 yards than the more, the kid with the higher accolades or reputation. You got to go with what you see. And this is the problem. This is what a lot of people fall into. Parents, coaches, they don't necessarily do the homework and the research. And that's where somebody like myself or somebody like you come in.
Well, and you have another component of it is and you see this goes on right now. The colleges like to go to certain schools where they've gotten guys in the past.
Or that are pipeline schools.
But here's the thing. What that does in many regards is it closes their eyes to the reality of that 4 miles away is a guy that is a legit player that they say, yeah, but it's not a perennial school. We haven't gotten anybody out of there in years. Prime example, Robbie Preckle. Okay. He's going to Northwestern.
Yep.
He is a kid that could be an impact player. I think can play as a true freshman in the Big Ten, right? I think he's got the ability to do it. Lafayette is a quality program, right? So, coach from Northwestern says to me, sitting in my office, good friend of mine, known him for years. We're getting ready to go grab a bite to eat. And he says, hey, you know anybody that's like kind of under the radar?
Mm-hmm.
So 2 kids. There's a kid over at Lafayette named Robbie Preckle. There's a quarterback down at Hillsboro named Preston Brown. 2 guys, right? We end up, I sent him the film or whatever. Then, he gets back. He's like, oh, damn. He said, where's Lafayette? And I said, well, you drove by it when you were down the street looking at Jack Lang, who's, everybody's looking at.
Right.
And so to me, you have to have a guy like a Jack Lang. So everybody's going to Eureka to see him. Right. But they're on 109, they're passing Lafayette to get there, depending on which way they go. But
that's not the way I go, but okay.
The problem is that, they're on the same, theoretically, they're on the same road.
They're within
right?
walking distance. Yeah.
Yeah. So the problem is that if someone doesn't tell him about that guy, he's fighting for, and you and I know he went to every camp. He did everything he was supposed to do.
Tested well,
dominated.
Yep.
He dominated not only going into his junior and senior year, he dominated every camp he was at.
Physically already at a D1 level.
Yes. Problem is it still took somebody pushing him and then someone trusting what that guy said, and they ended up going on it, right?
Yeah.
And so, and they loved Preston. Problem is they already had a commit, and but they brought him up. I mean, they were going down that path. Sometimes the door is closed because it's full, right? And they can only take so many guys. It is what it is.
And sometimes, unfortunately, they don't trust their own eyes.
Correct.
And how many times have you had a college coach tell you, well, man, I really love what I see, but I don't know. No, man, trust that thought, right? Trust your instinct, trust that first thought. Another player who was like that was Brady Davidson, right? Who, Northern Illinois got a steal.
That one does not, I don't understand it.
Right.
And
well, here's the thing, and I guess I can say it now, but you had Florida come in late. You had Michigan State come in late. You had a bunch of Big Ten and some SEC schools come in late. Oh, they finally woke up after, the season that he had was, a 6'5", 210-pound quarterback
who can run.
But that was the only thing that they were saying to him. Well, we don't see you run a lot. Well, no, you're 6'5", you're standing in the pocket, you throw the ball 80 yards on a dime, right?
And you only have to be able to run so far.
Exactly. And he could run, and he did run a little bit more just to show people, and maybe that's what made those schools come. But they didn't trust their eyes with what they saw early. And by that time, Brady's a great human being, by the way, great kid, great young man. He stuck it out with Northern Illinois to their,
to their benefit.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it is sad. It's one of those things. And you have, like we're talking, with Ottensmeyer and Shashin and Rocco Marriott are three guys that have offers in the state of Missouri. So those guys are, unless I'm missing it, but those are the top guys in the state of Missouri, quarterback wise, rising seniors. It's bizarre. The kids we've had come out of St. Louis quarterback wise have gone on and done very well. The kids we've been associated with that were D1 guys.
Right.
They've produced. They've actually gotten on the field and played. I would argue that that's because they're mechanically sound. It's that they've prepared, and they're not some guy that was just, running around doing 7-on-7 every weekend and not worrying about learning to get better and understanding how to play the game.
Right.
But it's hard to think those three, if we were in a different day and age, that those three would have significant numbers of offers.
Without question.
Higher than what they have.
Without question. And again, that goes back with me, like with the transfer portal. Okay. Because here's the thing. Rocco Marriott, and you've seen it in person, is legit 6'3", 210-pounder, right? Who
fast.
Runs a 4.5 90, 40-yard dash.
Yep.
Can broad jump 10 feet, has a 35-inch vertical, and has all the skills, all the tools you look for in a quarterback. Won a state championship.
Yeah.
Right. 50. I think it might have been over 60 touchdowns total in the end. Combined.
What do you want?
What they want is a backup from Penn State or a backup from Purdue. That they're going to offer $1.5 million to or $1 million to, which is crazy. And again, it goes back to the whole don't trust your whole eyes, don't necessarily have the greatest evaluation. They feel more comfortable knowing that guy's been in a college system, even though I'll tell you right now.
Even though he didn't play.
I'll tell you right now, Rocco Marriott is more talented than some of these guys that are getting paid six figures at least to transfer to another school.
But so JP, they rest on he came from Penn State, or he came from Purdue, or he came from Illinois. I look at
talent.
Yeah, okay, fine. And this is not even picking on Mizzou, but just the scenario that they have going. So you have a kid that was the backup at Penn State. Okay. I would argue now Drew Aller or Brady Cook. Brady Cook's a better quarterback.
Yep.
Maybe I'm biased. Okay. So this guy wouldn't have beat out the guy that started for you last year, right? Because Brady's better than Aller.
Correct.
This guy couldn't beat out Aller. I'm not saying he's not going to be a good quarterback,
right?
But you have him, and then you have Mike Gronowski, or I think it's Mike Gronowski, who was the quarterback at South Dakota State, who went to, I think, 2 national championships, and he also lost in the semis this year with an extra year to play. That's the guy I'm going for. If you're going to go for a one and done,
correct,
that's the kid I'm going for, because he's a grinder. He actually played for Midwest Boom out of Chicago, with really good quarterback. He's gotten up there, has dominated, has a really good public image up there. Decides his last year he's going to go somewhere. Iowa finally now has a quarterback that's a dude that can lead and throw. And
he's a guy that's going to excel on that next level.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
He wasn't a backup. He was a starter.
Correct.
So if you're going to go that route, I understand it.
Yeah.
And I know that there was a few guys Mizzou missed on that were starters that would have probably helped. And I'm sure in the back of their mind, all things being equal, they want a guy that's got, battle ready, right? But to be able to pay someone that amount of money that hasn't been battle hardened, and maybe I'm wrong, but the stats I saw was under 50 passes last year.
Well, I think some schools that you're seeing, and I'm not just talking about like Mizzou in particular, but I see this transfer portal, and I see some guys making what I would consider reaches. And even though they're like, they're ranking transfer portal guys now. They're like, this is the number whatever quarterback in the transfer. But I think that's a lot of fan stuff, right? So they can sell that. But I see guys, it almost looks like some schools are panicking, right? Because guys are getting off the board. This guy was our choice. He picked this school. This guy picked this school. Well, this guy, they're panicking, and they want somebody, and they don't want to be left out in the cold. So they're going to grab what they consider their easiest.
It's a scarcity issue too, because there's a ton of guys in the transfer portal, but when you look, let's just use quarterback. There's really not that many quarterbacks in there that are worth a crap, right?
Bingo, that's it.
So
there's a lot of quarterbacks.
The truth of the matter is that, and there are kids that that probably their careers will end because they went in the transfer portal. We're seeing situations at lower levels where kids that were on winning teams that were starters thought they could leverage themselves. And you have to be conscious of who you are and what you really are. You can't. I believe betting on yourself.
Right. You got to have a little bit of
but there's kids right now that are sitting in St. Louis and all across the country who should be in college right now.
Yes.
And second semester started and they don't have a home.
Correct.
And the team that they left has picked up 2 or 3 new kids and they're ready to go.
Bad information, bad decision making.
So, but I think there's the evaluation process. Everybody does it differently. I think a lot of college coaches would get really offended if they thought you insinuated that they don't evaluate. But the problem is,
right? And we're not insinuating that.
But no. But I think everybody's got their own unique way to do it.
Everybody's got their own system, yes. And that's what we're talking about.
But
some are better than others.
There is so much gray area. If everybody took a huge step back, right, and the beauty's in the eye of the beholder oftentimes, because it's like, yeah, but this kid played at this school or this.
Sure.
There's a lot of that. Like someone did a psychology experiment on it. It would be unbelievable to see what truly influences offers, right? Because to pull the trigger on a kid and say, yeah, we want this kid, and then
you could do a documentary on
it would be unbelievable because every coach you talk to has similar things, but there's also parameters that like, hey, yeah, he's got to fit these things.
Similar thoughts. Okay. So it goes like this. If he has to be this fast, right? Mm-hmm. Or he has to be this height. And if he's this height, he can be this speed, not as fast, but he's offsetting it because he's this height and he's a long shot. I mean, it gets in the weeds there.
So with quarterbacks too, I think the funny thing is that we were told the other day, someone, one of the kids, younger quarterback, a school that I think that he probably would be good enough to be viewed at and judged by, said, "Oh, we only take 6'2" quarterbacks." And the funny thing is like, show me the research that says short quarterbacks don't get the job done.
Yeah,
because Dylan Gabriel is all of 5'9.5".
You don't have to.
Bryce Young was all of 5'9.5".
Yeah.
Okay. Now, we're not talking about the NFL. We're talking about college football.
Yep.
That's a big difference, right? The NFL obviously is paring down and further, so it's very unique.
A lot of good 5'11", 6-foot quarterbacks.
A ton. So, but where is the research? It's anecdotal, right? What I want to know is, what is his release height? Where does he release the ball from? If he's 6 foot and his arms are average length, and he throws pretty relatively over the top, he's throwing like he's a 6'4" guy.
Yeah. Or how crafty is he? How does he overcome that situation? Right?
Correct.
To get the
right.
The
how
lanes.
Quick is his release? How
Absolutely.
Fast does he get rid of the ball? How fast does he make decisions?
Yeah.
All those things, like it's very disrespectful to the position in the sense of like, yeah, we need 6'2". So you're telling me that the eyes being here versus here make a huge difference when the people are this tall?
Yeah.
Give me some hard analytics of why you made that decision. And I'm telling you, they won't be able to do it.
Well, I
promise you they won't.
I think I told you already, but that answer was, we're not interested. But rather than say, no, we don't, I don't like him, or I don't think he's good enough, didn't want to offend you, says, well, we only take 6'2". I mean, you get a lot of that as a parent and a player.
That does happen.
You're going to get a lot of that. I like you, but right. We only, I mean, think about it. Think about when you were a kid, right? You didn't want to go to school or whatever, or you didn't want to go play with these friends or whatever. Oh, my parent says I can't do that. They're really strict. That was, we only take 6'2" quarterbacks. That's what that was.
Which, and that happens. And it's like, just be honest with me and say, hey, this, and truthfully, it's tough when the person evaluating, say they're at a school visit watching a kid throw.
Yeah.
It's tough when the person there is not the actual quarterback coach or OC.
Right.
Because that person, I forgot last year, I think it was Dylan Duff was throwing, and one of the schools that was there, I can't remember who it was, made a comment. It was like, yeah, your mechanics are this and that. And I'm like, was it the OC? He's like, no, he goes, it was D-line coach. I'm like, oh boy.
Right.
So like that guy, like, and now they missed out on a guy that's a power 4 guy that like he took it back. Like he didn't like his mechanics. Like, coach, what are you looking at? Like, how do you evaluate? And I think, to me, over the years, and one thing you'll learn about college football is, I had a guy tell me this years ago, was an NFL top 5 at the time NFL agent. He had all of them. He had all the guys. Used to be based in St. Louis. I mean, the Mannings, Adrian Peterson, all these guys, right? And he said, we were talking about skill development training for off season for their guys.
Mm-hmm.
And he looked at me and he said, the one thing has become painfully obvious to me is, in my years of doing this, the coaches at the NFL level, and you could say this at the college level, coaches are so often they are moved to different position groups. So, but their expertise from being a player or what they spent time learning and studying is maybe quarterback. Well, now that guy's coaching linebackers or running backs or receivers. And you go, well, wait a second. That guy is now a manager. So he described it as the phenomenon of managers. These are position managers who make sure that my player that I represent is doing his job, and he knows where the ball is supposed to go or where he's supposed to be against this. He knows the line calls, whatever it might be, whatever position it is. And they're more managing that position group and making sure everybody is on the same page. Just as a manager at a job, make sure that you apply all company policies and you do everything that's asked of you.
Yeah,
no different. So that was his observation after working. He goes, because he's like, there was guys that my guy 1 year was my coach, was the coach for one of my running backs, and then the next year he changes teams. He's now my receivers coach.
Well, I mean, think about it. How do you keep your job? Right.
You got to move around. There's only so many spots.
But you have to manage your position, right?
Everybody's got
to do their part. Everybody's got to, that's your number one goal. Evaluating talent, maybe you can, maybe you're not. It's not for everyone. And right. I'm talking about people who've really been up there in the football food chain, don't necessarily have the ability to evaluate talent and see, this and what this is going to be or can be. There's so many guys out there who just, they can't do it. And that goes back to what you're saying about, well, here's this defensive line coach out here looking at quarterbacks throw.
Right. And making an assumption on that. And so,
but that's his area. That's his area he recruits.
Right.
So he's going to be out there.
And he needs to see it. So, if you think of it in terms, and it's not fair to the college coach.
No,
because that coach is required now. Let's just view it as like a business, right? Yeah. So like someone that's a manufacturing business. Well, there's supply chain people, right? They're getting raw goods that are coming into your facility, that are scheduling to make sure that it's supposed to be there on time. There's design engineers that are engineering the actual product itself. There's manufacturing people, right? Then there's, once they've built the product, there's people got to sell the product. Then there's people that have to do all the things to get it out the door, right? And packaged up. And you're asking a college coach to do every bit of that. You're a recruiter. You're a position coach. You're a psychologist. You're a manager of the execution of our scheme.
Yeah.
And by the way, we just threw in, you got to start recruiting year round because there's these guys that are leaving other colleges. You're a player scout now, for other schools. I mean, they get paid well, but there are very few people in any organization that could take every one of those steps and master it in a manufacturing process, let alone in a college process. I think that's why parents are very frustrated by the process sometimes of recruiting, and high school coaches can get frustrated by it. But I think the college coaches get frustrated by it themselves because it's not as easy as you think
No, not
with the
at all.
resources and time they've been given.
Well, but I got to tell you this though. I mean, before I'm going back to when you had your staff. One of the members of your staff was the recruiting coordinator.
Yeah.
So say your quarterback's coach was your recruiting
Mhm.
coordinator, and he had one assistant, and that's how they recruited. They
Yeah.
did a pretty good job
True.
of evaluating talent. Now
Now they have
you have
staffs, so
huge staffs. You have multiple guys who are, I don't even know if it's a title of recruiting coordinator. There's a director of recruiting. There's a recruiting coordinator. There's assistant to the recruiting coordinator. And then you have a bunch of GAs who are on the staff,
analysts, all that stuff.
who do nothing but just look at film. And I don't know that they're evaluating kids any better than when you had an 11-man staff and one assistant who was just helping the recruiting coordinator.
Yeah.
I mean, they did a pretty good job.
I know a guy that's working on a solution for that,
Uh-oh.
for evaluating film.
Yeah.
Well, can't really talk about it.
Then we don't.
I can't really talk about it, but it's like, but from a college perspective, like they cutting film up. Yeah.
Because I'm
really wild stuff and artificial intelligence, things like that. So, but
my old eyeballs are pretty good.
Well, and I think, but it's the thing is like being able to take 1,000 and get it down to 100 that you need to watch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Get rid of all the junk you don't need to see.
Yeah.
It's like a movie preview. Cut out all the bad parts. Give me the good stuff.
I fully rely on the whole. What are your first 3 plays?
Oh yeah, yeah. They have to look.
You know what you need there.
Well, and a lot of kids still haven't figured that out.
I guess AI could be faster because you could probably look at more quicker.
Well, that's it. It just basically weeds out stuff you don't need to look at because it learns what you like, how you evaluate.
There's only one,
right?
There's only one. Right.
So I think then that's it. I think and that's the beauty of finding people and developing people and
see,
that's a lost art.
It is not a lost art, but it's really not done anymore. And this is where we've talked about this in the past. You cannot depend on you're going to get developed in college. They don't do
Absolutely
that.
not.
You can't even depend on I'm going to go to college. I'm a late bloomer. I'm going to go to JUCO, and they're going to be my ticket to to D1 college football. You have to start developing, and you have to specialize at an early age. And you had a great group of middle schoolers training at Elite. You had a phenomenal quarterback. We don't want to throw his name out there just yet.
Yeah, 7th grade.
Yeah,
a couple of them.
Multiple who were just, unbelievable, right? And how long have they been coming in training with you?
Oh, it started in their little guys. Like the one guy, multiple of they're probably going on year 4 or 5.
So,
but yeah, when that kid gets his all offers at some point in his life, well, it'll be luck, right? Because my son's really good. Yeah, but he's been working at this, and at some point, be realistic with yourself. What we're talking about is the coaches. It's not that they can't; it's that they don't have the time, the structure of time that they've been given to work with the players. You have to execute game plans. If you don't have the opportunity to execute the game plan, what are we going to do? Spend time on skill development on someone that we're paying money to come to college that they should already know how to do this?
Right. And you better, even if you are the more athletic guy, if you don't know how to execute that, you're not going to play.
Right.
But that's why you have to specialize. And it's kind of a shame to have to say that, but you have to have a plan at a younger age. You have to specialize, train, figure out what you're going to be, what you're going to train at.
JP, but you will have people that when they hear you say that are going to go, "Oh, that's ridiculous. You should be doing 4 different sports." Well, here's the problem:
jack of all trades,
master of none.
Yep.
And oh, by the way, you show me if it was so beneficial to the athlete and their development, why, when they get to college, do they not let them do it? Why aren't they playing multiple sports in college?
Right.
If it was that good for the athlete, as you say it is, and it just develops them as a total athlete, wouldn't the college football coach want those guys developing the offseason so they get all the benefits for the football season? No, the truth of the matter is they don't get that because they need to work on the things they need to work on in the offseason to become better players. so they can implement it in the fall. So yes, you should play other sports growing up. We're not saying you specialize in kindergarten and football. You can play a lot of sports in high school, middle school, and still specialize in football.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You can.
But there comes a point in time where you're going to have to specialize in one, depending upon how far you want to take.
Well, yes.
If you want to play, I don't know, college basketball at Washington University or UMSL, hey, that's great. Go ahead and go for it. But if you want to play basketball at those schools and you have the potential to play football at Illinois or Mizzou or higher, I mean, go with your love of basketball, right? See how far that takes you. Now, things have changed because guys are getting paid now to play college football. So maybe you don't want to go to UMSL and play basketball anymore. And that's what people have. And I'm telling you what, all these guys I talk to and they love basketball. There's a bunch of guys, and I know there's some of them, well, hey, what do you do in an off season? Oh, I'm playing basketball.
Okay, but that's great. You still can be doing other things, but let's be truthful. There's kids that play summer baseball that are not going to want to play baseball in college, that do that because it's something they can do in the summer that avoids going to football practice. Like, it happens.
Yeah.
But speaking of getting paid, college football wise, big development last week, as the outgoing administration in the White House strictly, that they had a ruling or like a paper that they produced on Title IX.
Mm-hmm.
And their suggestion is that the money that was is being allotted through the House versus NCAA lawsuit that we've been talking about is going to go primarily to football and basketball, men's and women's basketball and football, because they're the primary generators of revenue.
Right.
The Title IX ruling, if you will, whatever you want to call it, the paper they put out is saying that they view any payment from the school as financial aid, right? As in a scholarship, which technically I think there's going to be some legal arguments against it.
Yeah.
But what I think is going to be interesting is, and I've said this 1,000 times, I love Title IX in the sense that it gives women equal access to sports. The problem with football being in the mix, there is no equivalent sport female-wise as football.
Right.
So when you look at it in the context of a college football or college athletic department, up until now, 85 scholarships, right? So there has to be, that throws out a ton of male athletes in other sports because there's 85 for football. Well, there's a commensurate amount of scholarships that have to go to female sports. But if it was apples to apples and you had soccer, male and female, you had softball and baseball, basketball, tennis, track, swimming, all those sports have the male and female equivalency sports together, right? And they work in harmony because a lot of times they're training together, like the track teams or, they're eating together, all that stuff. Football throws the entire deal out of whack but it should be carved out. And my point for bringing up why it should be carved out is the exact reason when they make rulings like this, that you and I, what we've been talking about, to get around that, mark my word, football will get carved out either at that level and then it will stay in the colleges. Otherwise, college football is going to become a subsidiary of a bunch of state and federal, state and private universities across the country, and you're going to have a super league that is owned by universities as well as private equity.
Groups. I think
that'll be an impetus for it.
That's coming, and what you're talking about just accelerates that.
Yeah,
happening. Because if some billionaire wants to come in and do it, university's not going to turn them down. And It's like, okay, well, here we have college sports. You have your student athletes here. They can stay here and do this, but over here is a whole different league, and that's going to happen.
Yeah,
because even college basketball is just not at that same level as football. It's just
no, the tournament. And that again, it goes back to how many male athletes have been deprived opportunities. Like Mizzou doesn't have soccer. Well, there's a reason why for men's soccer, because it has football
in a state that's soccer crazy.
Right. So what's interesting is that you want it to be equitable across all levels, right? Well, football is a unique opportunity. It is a unique case. It is its own deal, right? Why not? Why wasn't it ever just carved out to begin with? Because you and I know it's more advantageous to have it in there because it skews the actual numbers. But I think a lot of male athletes in a lot of non-revenue sports could make the argument that they've been wronged by that, right?
Yeah, if we want to talk reality.
I mean, because there's a lot of kids there's a lot of kids that work really hard at some sports that do not get opportunity to play at the Division I level, right? And so that's kind of being the highest level for a lot of these guys, especially because they don't have a lot of professional sport leagues.
I'll tell you what, that's so ugly. I hate the thought of even, just talking about that makes my head hurt.
It sucks because there's a lot of kids that are going to be, because on the flip side, it's going to do a lot of damage when these schools just decide, hey, we're going to cut. And I think it could further harm a lot of male athletes at the non-revenue sport level, because there's going to be some tough decisions being made and saying, we're just going to cut these sports altogether then, right? We'll keep the female equivalent sports, right? Or equivalent scholarships. And then these are the sports we're going to support because it does not match up with our budget. And I'm trying to think, I think it was Indiana the other day, I think laid off 12 employees in their athletic department in preparation for budget cuts so that they can pay the athletes, right? And so there's a lot of reckoning that's going to go on in these athletic departments. It's very serious. And what's crazy is there's a lot of decisions being made on a lot of conjecture and if comes because it's changing every day, right? And so, and that's why I feel really bad for the college coaches. Is it 5 years of eligibility that we got to start contending with? Is it transfer portal? Did the JUCO guys get 4 years, 5 years? Do the NAIA guys, does that count? I mean, there's so many rules. Here's another one. This is what I find very interesting. So you have a kid that, let's just say a kid's offered a walk-on at a SEC school. Okay. Because remember, we've been told like walk-ons are going away. Well, the reason why we were told walk-ons are going away is because the NCAA said, hey, you went from 120 plus roster spots down to 105. There's 85 scholarships is the bare minimum. SEC has now come out and said, we are going to limit scholarships in our conference to 85 full scholarships. But if you read the House versus NCAA's ruling, the reason why people are saying there's no such thing as walk-ons is every one of those players from 86 to 105 will also get paid because they're on the football team. Because so that is the reason why we had this lawsuit to begin with. So to think that, so for instance, we have a couple kids that have been recently offered, walk-on spots at those schools.
Right.
So then on the flip side, there's also another potential ruling that's going to come out fairly soon that's going to say, no. All have to be 105 have to be scholarships. Because how can you play 1 foot and one? That's what got them in this mess to begin with.
Right.
So my original interpretation was all would be scholarshiped. Then there would be payment based on, a number of factors based on how you earned it, right? Like anything in a job, in employment. There'd be a base level, right? Base level being minimum wage,
right,
up to whatever, right? So then the problem is now you start to get these different offshoot ideas, but it looks like there's going to be some legal action in that, within that, because they still haven't ratified the settlement.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be 105 will all be scholarshiped.
It's so unsustainable. You're better off having your football team owned by a corporation, right? And I know that might sound crazy, and then you take your money that you have for your athletic department from donors and whatnot. There you go. Divvy it up. Spread that out to everybody, because it's unsustainable otherwise. Something's got to give.
It will. And you just look at ticket prices at all the schools. They say school. Remember the old PSLs with the Rams?
Right.
So schools
So
are
what-
now going to go to that model.
So what is the cost to go to a game? Say you want to take a family of 4 to a college football game, because I haven't paid to go.
Yeah, I haven't paid to go to a college
anyplace.
football
I
game in a
know.
long time.
That's crazy. Somebody want to shoot that at us.
Yeah, I don't know.
Average
But I
price.
know
the
Mizzou
ticket
went up,
prices are going up. Oh,
went
yeah.
up considerably, and that's to pay for what their new cost structure is.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
And so, part of it, you can't fault them to a degree.
So if you got people going to be paying professional prices to go to a sporting event, you might as well give them a professional product.
Right.
Right. I mean, it only makes sense.
But they have managed for so long as a great product, but not a professional product. It's a
Right.
great product.
Right. It is a great product, and it was reasonable to be able to go to a game and and take the family and all that. But
then the pressure is going to be to win, because you don't win,
pressure's
you don't
really
get you don't get that money. The money's not coming in. You can't fund your athletes. It's a slippery slope. It's going to be a really interesting time in college football. I mean, I think
it's an interesting time in high school football.
Yeah.
Isn't it? I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. We were talking about it. You got a transfer portal in high school. There are kids, and like I constantly, I'm having somebody, hey, do you hear so and so is at this school?
Oh,
I'm like, what? You have what's going on at Luther North.
yeah.
That situation. Coach Kyle Wagner has, went to coach at Sacramento State, and that job's open.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what's going on.
And then a couple kids are like, oh, yeah,
Some
the kids are going to be leaving.
Some kids are already leaving. You have other schools who are like, hey, those are some good players.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a bunch of kids jump around, jump ship. I mean, it's really getting to that. It's really getting to that level. It's mimicking college football, which is a shame, and you don't want to see that. You have kids in high school trying to sign, and I don't even know what these little NLI deals that they're doing are.
Well,
some kind of clothing.
I had a guy hit me up today, and he's a lawyer, and he said, hey, how many issues have you seen with these kids signing deals with because what's going on in college, with the kids getting ready to go from high school to college, they're getting NIL agents, right? And so
and tell them explain what they're trying to take from them.
Yeah, so
they're not helping you.
So I asked him, I said, he said, what rates are you seeing? And I'm like, I'm hearing anywhere from 10 to 20, 25% of these kids future earnings.
Yes.
And so not just what they negotiate from there. So if they leave, they have like a period of time where they're still going to keep getting paid, which, you got to be really careful. Like, just to give you an idea, like 2.5%, 3% has been the historical average for NFL agents.
Absolutely.
Okay. Those guys are making serious money, and that's all they're giving up. Right. So unless this person is going and walking you in and getting you scholarships places,
but that doesn't happen.
But that's not supposed to happen. Right. And so if that person is not really spending a lot of time on it, I mean, there's people going to be making a lot of money off of kids' backs, which to me, so this lawyer read over a contract, and he's like, man, he's like, I've seen some stuff in my day. He's like, this is the most one-sided, because the kid's gonna get money, irregardless if he has the agent or not, right? The NIL collective is going to negotiate with them, and the school's going to give them whatever the school's going to give them, right? So what do I really need you for?
Right.
Like, I would pay you for anything that's above and beyond what I know I'm going to get and what's standard for the rest of my teammates.
Right.
But if you let someone in the door, they've done studies on these the financial advisors back in the day before they were fiduciaries and just getting paid fees or whatever. But they're like, oh, 1%. I make a 1% load off of whatever you're carrying, right?
Yep.
That 1% over time turns into a unbelievable about a loss on your end, right?
Yes.
And a gain for someone else, which again, that argument for that person doing it could say, hey, if not for me, you wouldn't have made that money to begin with. So there's, but there's a lot of that going on. When you start talking double digit fees,
or percentages. I mean, like Hollywood, like the top Hollywood actors, and their agents might get 10% of a deal.
Yeah,
but that's totally different. That's totally different.
Yeah, they're negotiating with the studio about what what the rights are in perpetuity.
Exactly.
On something that's gonna get played on TV forever.
An actor just breaking in 3 to 5.
Mhm.
You know, top one's 10%. You know, I'm talking about like the top tier.
So
So think
it's a
about
little
that.
scary.
Yeah.
You know, you got kids playing on 7-on-7 teams that are tied to collectives, that are tied to agents, you know, that are giving people free stuff to play, and then tying it back into NIL, right? Well, they know, I mean, nothing's free.
Right.
Someone's giving you this stuff for free now. They're
Your
going to
airplane
expect something
ride,
eventually,
not
right?
gonna, right.
Yeah. What did you sign? And
Yeah,
so I
That's
think, you know, easy come, easy go, right? So if you're loose with that stuff and you make bad deals, you know, that the kid that was I just saw, I forgot his name. He was at Jaden Rosada, I think his name is. He was the kid that sued. He was going to go to Florida. They didn't give him, it was 13 million is what he said he was going to get. That he was going to go to Miami. Something happened that now he's on his 4th or 5th school.
Yeah.
And he has no home right now. And he's still suing. I think it was Florida. I could be wrong on that. He's suing them over the money that he was supposed to get.
Yeah.
Right. Well, again, you didn't render the services, so what are they going to pay you that for? Right. Like, come on.
Good luck getting another school to take a chance on you.
Right.
Since you're suing them.
Right. And so, yeah, I'm curious to see. I have not looked. I'm going to look it up and see what that kid last year that was at UNLV, that was the big deal. That was the starter.
I have not heard
Jack
about him.
Where he landed.
Yeah.
Because he should have already landed by now.
Again, right. And as you well know, if the bad word goes out on you, you're untouchable.
It's just like coaches. Guys do stuff. There's coaches that are not coaching anymore for a reason, right?
Yep, absolutely. Recruiting, man, is really kicked off as we know. People are able to go out and actually recruit now. So I mean, coaches are able to go to schools and evaluate players, and so really interesting. A lot of offers going out lately. And in fact, even just today, we were talking about players and about Jack Brown's just really blowing up as he should. And you remember a year ago talking with Jack at Elite and his dad was like, you know, be honest with me. You know, do you think he'll get an offer? And I'm like, Mr. Brown, he's going to have everybody's offer.
Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, he's going to have everybody's offer. And, you know, I think Mr. Brown played at Illinois, and he's like, you know, it'd be cool if he could play close to home. I'm, you know, from Illinois, and
he's got a big tie to Illinois.
He's got a bunch of stuff, but just today, Nick McClellan, 2 offers, Iowa State and in Colorado State. Ronell Johnson from Blue Springs just picked up an offer from Iowa. Big 6'5", 250-pound defensive end. Mizzou offered Bennett Frazier from Kirksville, 6'5", 265. Blake Nesbitt, Greg Nesbitt's son, just picked up an offer from Houston. His very first offer, 6'3", 200.
Yeah, I watched some of his film. He's legit.
He is legit.
Good athlete.
I have him number 5 in his class. Nobody else has ever heard of. Jordan Taylor, which is a great story. Jordan Taylor, who was injured not this past season, 2 years ago, really made the comebacks, picked up a bunch of offers. Lindenwood offered him today. Kobe Rhymes from North Kansas City, 2027 kid, 6'1", 225-pound linebacker, Arkansas. He just recently picked up offers from Iowa State and somebody else, Kansas. So, I mean, that's not a bad little jump start.
No.
I'm talking about just within the past week. A guy you know pretty well, Cortez Rupert from Eastside, picked up 2 offers today, Eastern Michigan and Miami. And he's another legit guy. Marshawn Ivy, another guy's coming in, elite train guy. Iowa State offered him today. So you can tell who's in
you know who's in town.
Who's in town by the offers going out. And a bunch more. Like I said, Jack Brown, just too many to mention.
Ridge James.
Ridge James just picked up a Mizzou offer.
Big offer.
Yesterday. Of course, his dad played at Mizzou. Ron Rhino James coaches at Smet
with them,
as well. Yeah. Isaiah Warren, another really good guy, just picked up an offer from Indiana Wesleyan. And got to mention Mason Wentz. Did you see he committed to Missouri Western? Now, Mason had a bunch of preferred walk-on offers, including to Mizzou, that he never really put out there. And Missouri Western got a really good.
Got a steal.
Washburn
got a steal with Chase Weiscarver.
Absolutely. You know? So let me ask you this question. So Missouri Western versus a preferred walk-on at Mizzou. The pay thing is going to be interesting.
That, I'm telling you, that was the one thing I like both of those guys.
That's a difference maker.
Like, it's still up for decision. But if you were to, I mean, if I'm a betting man,
yeah,
I almost take that only because
you're getting paid.
You get, at least it's a 1-year deal.
You're working
right. You're
hard.
You're gonna get
learning.
paid something, and you say, well, they're gonna just pay me for that. I'm still gonna pay them for school. Yeah, but they're gonna pay you enough that's gonna pay for school,
and
you're in the hunt,
and you have that experience,
and then you can leverage that to go somewhere else.
Bingo.
And they're, because they're going to say, oh, a Mizzou transfer versus a Washburn transfer, that one carries more weight, right?
Yep.
Doesn't mean that the player is any better. It just means that one carries more weight.
It's all business. It's all business.
It's crazy.
So yeah,
I will,
deals.
And it's tough because those decisions probably won't be made till after signing day.
Right.
But
so you got to figure out. Although I'm seeing guys who have signed with other schools.
Oh yeah.
And who just go. I mean, Washington State University poached a bunch of guys.
So this is something I learned about the transfer portal. Did you know? Theoretically, all it is a database. It's actually not even a rule. So, say a kid. Okay, so now the transfer portal deal is closed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Theoretically, there's a spring and a winter.
Yeah.
If a kid unenrolls from a school, he can enroll in any school he wants, and there's no ramifications. So that's what these kids are doing. So even though they'll just unenroll.
Yeah. Or if you just sign,
it doesn't
mean anything.
Literally, a kid can leave because there's a kid getting sued by again. Gotta kind of have to be savvy with your finances on this and have a legal representative. A kid, I believe, was at Wisconsin, and he's going to Miami or something like that.
Yeah.
So he signed a 2-year deal. 2 years was his financial engagement with them. Okay. Through the collective, I guess. He dropped out of school or unenrolled and re-enrolled somewhere else. Did not do because he tried to go to the transfer portal and they blocked him.
Did he get money?
Yeah, they blocked him. Okay. Right. And so they want their money back.
Oh, so he already got
a portion of it.
Okay.
So, but it was a 2-year deal. So I've also heard that.
Crazy.
Where a lot of these deals now, where the kids are telling me they're locking them in for a couple years, and so there's a clawback clause. If you leave, they can get X% back. The collective can.
Yeah.
So again, that's where having an agent, but to me, not an agent. We're a lawyer.
Bingo.
You need a lawyer.
I was going to say
to negotiate on your behalf that says no. Hey, pursuant Missouri law, you can't do this anyway.
Add that to your role as a parent. How would you like to be a parent nowadays, trying to deal with all that stuff? Before it was better just having coaches who were telling you they loved your kid,
and the coaches and the college coaches really aren't even involved in that side of that crap.
I'm just talking about as a parent, you have to wear so many hats, and your head's on a swivel. You don't know what's going on, and you just going by.
You just want Johnny to go to school and get his school paid for. But now
thing.
Johnny can make as much money that you make in a year
or more,
or you've made in the last 5 years.
Right. So it's pretty cool. Something else is pretty cool. What's going on that you want to talk about before we get out of here?
So a couple things. We got our middle school, which is for 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade combine Monday, February 17th. And then our high school combine will be Saturday, March 8th. Circle your calendars on both of those. The high school guys, it's imperative that you're there. The middle school guys, the compelling argument to be there is start to prepare and see where you're at. Get a good feel for how these things operate.
That's what we're talking about with getting yourself a start.
Get a start and start to feel out where you are in the process, right? I mean, there are kids in our facility that are in middle school right now that are doing speed classes and working on starts and understanding how to do it. Not because they think they're going to go to a middle school combine and get an offer, because they want to see where they're at. They want to put the best foot forward and have an opportunity to try to improve as they go through in time.
And it's really good for mom and dad to figure out,
kind of see where you're at,
see where they at. What are we going to pursue? What are we going to do? And if you're an 8th grader, go to both.
I would suggest 8th grade, 100% go to both. Yeah. And
if you're in 8th grade, don't feel like, I can't go to the elite combine in March.
You need to be there.
You need to be there. So had a ton of them last year, and a lot of these guys got offers.
Yeah. Those guys, again, that's the way it works. And so the other thing is Sundays, skills training. And then Monday through Friday, we have speed and agility. 7 days a week, we're doing private training. We have kids look, this is a competitive era. If you're not working and training, you are fooling yourself.
Yep.
You are not just that good of an athlete, and your kid is not just that good of an athlete because someone else is outworking them.
Without question. It goes by quick. It's been fun. You can reach us on our social media at JP Rock MO on X and JP Rock Scout U on Instagram. People can reach you. You can look on the screen. It says right there.
Yeah, Elite Football on X and Elite Football Academy on Instagram.
All right. It's been fun. Everybody try to stay warm. I think it's a balmy, what is it, like 7? Has it got up to 7 degrees?
The sun's out.
Sun is out.
Very, very deceiving.
Maybe it's 7. Stay warm and stay safe, and we'll talk to you next week. See ya.